So I'm just going to talk about the Bridge Preservation Expert Task Group. For those that might not know about it, it's a group that FHWA formed. It's a group that brought together academia, vendors, consultants, as well as states. So normally Raj Alani, who runs that group, gives this update. He's unavailable, so I'm giving it so that way you don't have to hear the, oh, this is not a rule that you have to follow. These are non-proprietary, like he normally has to say all that stuff. I don't have to say that stuff. So, so the Expert Task Group has released 11 pocket guides. These guides focus on improving construction quality and address common errors during construction that may cause premature failures. They are posted on the AASHTO TSP2 website. The link is, if you've been out there. We also recently added QR scan codes to these so you can get it on your phone app. The idea would be is, if you're out there working on an overlay project, you could download the rigid deck overlay. If you're doing LMC or UHPC, you could download that. And this has all the ideas of what you might need to be looking for in deck prep, when they're pouring it, when they're finishing it. It's all there. There are checklists on that. You can use it once it's on your phone. You can just fill in the checklist, send it to yourself. So the other nice thing is the AASHTO Technical Training Solutions. Formerly it was called AASHTO TC3. They've created web-based training on each one of these, and they're free to the states, and I think they're like $25 for other people. They're really, really inexpensive. So that's one of the main products that we've done. Another one is we've done some case studies. We've done 3 right now. They're posted on the FHWA's Bridge Preservation website, which is also where you would get Raj Alani's information there. We did one on bridge impacts, bridge joints with link slabs. Thank you very much, New York. They helped us out with that one a great deal. And then utilizing cathodic protection to extend the service life of bridges. So we also publish a biannual newsletter, and these can be found on the TSP2 website also under Bridge News. We basically draft this up. We usually work with the partnership as well as others to come up with topics, and we do those. We're looking for a topic for the fall coming up. So we basically have some ideas for future pocket guides. We are working on one that's a polyester polymer concrete overlay, because when we did the rigid concrete overlays, we realized we didn't have, the PPC overlays, so we're going to one on that. We've talked about, there's been a lot of discussion here about deck sealing, so we're thinking we're going to put together one on that, but we're open for suggestions. So, we look for each of the regional partnerships. They are members of the BPETG, so we're looking for them to bring up ideas. We're looking for case study ideas. The internal curing of concrete that we heard here, we think that might be a good one to put together a case study on. It's actually out there. If you follow Federal Highways Everyday Counts initiatives, there's an Everyday Counts Initiative 7, includes the EPC, the internal, the curing of concrete. So, if you heard something you liked here, you can actually apply for that, the EDC, the Everyday Counts Initiative. So we're looking for suggestions, and then future newsletters. We've heard a lot about adding fibers to concrete mixes to control deck cracking. We think that might be a good topic for a newsletter. So again, that's one of the other things we've done. So the last thing I want to just mention real quickly, and it's not finalized yet, is this corrosion prevention and mitigation response that we're developing for Federal Highway. The GAO issued this report on corrosion, and why did they do it? They did it was because House Report 116-106 included a provision for the GAO to review the status of state's bridge corrosion control planning. And so they looked at the trends and condition of bridges, the practices states use to address corrosion, and how FHWA assists them. So GAO basically selected 5 states, and they did some research, and what did they find out? Well, they found out that the deck area in poor conditions has decreased, which is good. Deck area in good condition has decreased, which isn't so good. So what does that mean? It means that the deck area of NHS bridges in fair condition increase, right? So if you had the 2 lines diverging. So the potential problem with that is, you know, the bridges in fair condition, they're going to eventually drop into poor condition unless we're, you know, doing some proactive preservation treatments. So, you know, they also found out that, you know, the state's practices vary on how they handle, you know, environmental and bridge conditions that lead to corrosion, you know, based on whether you're putting a lot of salt on your roads, whether you're in a coastal environment. Those are all things that lead to corrosion. So they basically took that information all together and they made a recommendation to FHWA. And basically it said that they should include bridge preservation efforts such as peer exchanges, case studies. So these are things right up our alley in terms of what GPI is helping the BPETG on, is, you know, we're already doing case studies. So we led the effort to put together these peer exchanges. I've shared some of that information. The peer exchange report that we did is in its final review by Federal Highway. But this is what we conducted 2 regional peer exchanges, the yellow states and the blue states. The yellow states they chose basically for Midwest states that have frequent freeze-thaw cycles, and there were some in the Northeast as well, but if we put all them together, it would be too big. So they kind of added some of the Northeast states into the other ones, the Southeast and West states that maybe have less freeze-thaw cycles but are exposed to salt water. So we have those are like North Carolina, Texas, Oregon, Florida, but then we added, you know, New York was in there. They experienced some of that salt water, as well as Virginia. So that's kind of the way that was broken down. So the way that we ran the peer exchange, each state had to complete a questionnaire. And again, thank you, New York. They were one of the states that was in the Northeast, and it was a 64-question questionnaire. So all you all that are state reps, you know, when you get one of these things, you're like saying, oh my God. So thank you very much for New York and everybody else who responded. It was great. Then we had a virtual half-day session where basically each state had about a half an hour where they talked about the number of bridges they're responsible for, what their biggest successes were, what their problems or challenges were, some of those things. And then we had the in-person meeting. So we hope to have that peer exchange report published here in September. And that is it. So it's rapid fire. None of what I said is a rule or something you have to follow, but it's all good information that's out there. So I think I covered everything. I can take a question if anybody's got a question for me. So good enough. Thank you.